Welcome to the Quest Forums channel and to According to Mark, our ongoing look at the second book of the New Testament. You can find the link to the companion article to this video in the description below, and it looks at Mark chapter 4 verse 35 through chapter 6 verse 6. In this passage, Mark presents two competing themes, the theme of fear and the theme of faith. And there's four situations that are described where fear is certainly the natural reaction to them. There's a storm on the Sea of Galilee, a man who's possessed by a multitude of demons, a woman who has been suffering from a bleeding disease for over a decade, and a little girl who has died. But in all of these situations, Jesus asks for faith, and he responds by solving whatever the problem is. He calms the storm. He exorcises the demons, heals the woman, and raises the little girl back to life, showing his absolute power over nature, over the spiritual forces of darkness, over the body, and over death itself. There's nothing that can defeat him. And as a result, this actually leads to a different type of fear because people are filled with awe. They are astonished by Jesus and what he's capable of. And so this is meant to draw toward the conclusion of him being the Son of God. And all of these things are very important for painting the picture of who Jesus is. But I actually want to focus on what happens at the beginning of chapter 6, where things are turned on their head. And rather than Jesus doing the astonishing, he himself is astonished by people's response. In this passage, Jesus returns to his hometown, the place where he grew up, Nazareth. And he is preaching and presenting the gospel that's found in himself. And the people's response is disdain. They are not impressed. And in fact, Luke goes on to say that they responded with violence to what Jesus was saying about himself being the Messiah. And the reason that they do so, Jesus says, is that a prophet is not without honor except in his own hometown, among his relatives, and in his household. Another way, a way that we might put that, is that familiarity breeds contempt. These people thought that they knew Jesus, because they'd watched him grow up and they had his family with them. But in fact, they didn't really know him at all. They didn't understand him. And as a result, they alienated themselves from the blessings that were available if they had responded to him in faith. And that's why it says that Jesus was not able to perform many miracles. It was not because he needed them to do that or because he fed off of their faith or he lost his power somehow. Is that we have to remember in Mark and in Jesus' ministry, the miracles are meant to prove the message. And so when people weren't interested in the message, Jesus had no reason to provide the miracles. He had no reason to reward their faithlessness. And the message here is one that Mark wants all of his readers to understand. It's another negative example, something that we should not do. And something that is very easy, unfortunately, for us to do in our society. Because our society has a popular image of who Jesus is, and it's a counterfeit image. And people pick this up, they think it's the reality, they're turned off by it, and so they have no reason to draw closer to the Lord. And so we need to do what we can in order to overcome that, in order to present who Jesus really is. And that's the purpose of this study, of course, is to follow up on Mark, who did this work 2,000 years ago, by showing what he recorded, what was remembered about Jesus, all the things that he did and who he was. Because that's who people need to know. They can't stick with the counterfeit. They need to find the reality. Because if they do, if they form a relationship with Jesus, then they will experience true blessing, true healing, true rescue from fear that's found in eternal life that's provided by Jesus and that is spent with Jesus. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you have anything that you want to share, or maybe a question about this or something else in the Bible? Feel free to leave that in the comments below. Thanks very much for checking out this video, and until next time, keep looking up.